Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us today. It was great to see many of you at the welcome workshop last week, where we could talk about mentoring in particular. Today we'll be, this is our second and final compulsory session. So after this, we won't actually gather as the large group until right at the end, when we hold our recognition and kind of get to debrief together. So this is our last time that we'll be joining as one whole group. And yeah, we appreciate that it is a lot of time, but we really value this start of the program to make sure that you are equipped and prepared for what this program will involve. So before we do start, I would love to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the lands that I'm joining this meeting from. So that's the Darramurrugal people. And they've been in community and they've had strong connections to land and sea long before we started meeting here as community. So I'd like to extend that respect to wherever you're joining from today, and we'd like to pay our respects to elders past and present, and to any in attendance today. If you know what lands you're on at the moment, feel free to chuck it in the chat. It's such an important part of what we do and how we host these presentations. But before we get stuck into it, and just a quick bit of housekeeping. We do these before all of our online sessions. I feel like it's fun because, like, in person, you always tell people where the bathrooms are, what to do in an emergency. I hope you know where the bathrooms are and what to do in an emergency where you are. But online, feel free to use the raise hand function if you have any questions. The chat's open, use it as much as you like. Siobhan in particular will be checking out any questions or something that comes through. We have a dedicated Q&A session about halfway through. So pop questions in the chat as they come up. We probably won't be able to answer them as we go, but we'll have a bit of a Q&A session right in the middle of this session. You can use reactions. I'm a big fan of the cowboy hat emoji. So if you ever get excited, just feel free to send that in the chat or do a reaction. Okay, so why are we here today? We'll do a bit of a refresh on the journey, and we'll talk about the whole mentoring and volunteering thing being part of the same program, but technically not related. Then they're not reliant on each other. They're kind of like two parallel streams that you'll be undertaking. So we know it can sound like a lot, and I appreciate that you guys are making a big commitment by joining this program with the hope that you'll get a lot out of it. So we want to set you up so that you understand the two parallel streams, what you're committing to, but also what you're getting out of it as well. So that's a really important part of this program. Refresh on the journey, a bit about the community platform. So you should have received an email from me throughout the week telling you how to get on the platform. I know some of you have checked it out. If you haven't had a chance yet, you'll get a chance in this session to have a play through that. Feel free to check your emails and just click on the link at the moment if you want to have a quick look and be up to date. But specifically in my email, I would have covered how to access the mentoring content and how to look through that. Oh, that reminds me, I think someone messaged me today saying that the link wasn't working. So if that's been the case for you, I'll check that and let you know if that's just one person or if that's a problem with the link that I posted. We'll talk through the community platform, not just how to use it for our mentoring content, because that's how you'll see the content for each week with your mentor, but also for volunteering. So community actually exists to facilitate volunteering and increase the social impact of our communities. So that's why we do what we do, and we think mentoring is one way to do that, but we specialize in volunteering, and that's why it's part of this program and why we're asking you to volunteer with a local community organization. And you'll be able to see, because that's how our platform is designed. We're using it for mentoring as well, but you'll be able to see how to volunteer and how to use it to create social impact. We have some amazing community partners. I've written not-for-profits there, but there's also some social enterprises in attendance today. If you don't know what the difference between that is, that'll be one of the key intro points, I think. But you'll be able to hear from our representatives about what their organization does and what volunteering with them might look like. We've got a bit of a chance to deep dive into that later, but they'll be talking for a couple of minutes just about who their organization is, what they do, and what volunteering with them would look like. And then, so this will be the first half, about 45 minutes of the session. The meat and chunkiness of this session, we actually want to just provide you time to be in breakout rooms. Our not-for-profit representatives will be in their own breakout rooms, and you can jump in and have a chat to them. So obviously have a close listen as they explain, and you'll be able to jump in and chat to the ones that you're interested in volunteering with. And our goal before you leave today is to actually know how you're going to volunteer and what you're going to do. So it's very exciting, and we'll kind of have a soft wrap up. We won't jump in back together as a whole group, but we'll have kind of our next steps and make sure that you're aware of what to do moving forward. So that's why we're here today, and why it's such an important session. We're recording it, but I think just by being here, you get the chance to actually chat to and meet a not-for-profit representative. That's why this session is so important, and why, yeah, we really didn't want you to miss it, because you won't be able to have that conversation in your own time, or like watching back a lecture. We want you to have some great conversations today. Okay, before we get started, it is going to require a lot of interaction and some chatting between you all. We have a icebreaker of sorts. We've already talked about fruits, but I try not to eat fruit or vegetables. I go straight for potato of various forms. What are the best chips? Put it in the chat, or if you have a really strong opinion, feel free to unmute and tell me what your opinion is, because I have strong opinions on this, and I'll go toe to toe with someone who disagrees. No,
I've got a really strong opinion on this, and it's KFC, and it's because they use chicken salt.
I
love Hungry
that.
Jack's and KFC chips are like really, really good because they're both thick. But what makes KFC's better is the chicken salt.
I love that opinion from you, Jasmine, but I'm just gonna have to disagree. Okay, this is the thing. The salt is great, but the quantity of salt provided is almost always underwhelming. I don't know if it's just the KFCs that I've been to, but I feel like they're just always stingy on the salt. Like,
or they put all the salt on the top and there's none on the bottom. Or there's too much salt at the bottom, there's none at the top.
Yeah, and they always end up soggy. Like, I don't know what. Hungry Jack's, you always get crispy chips.
Yeah, I vote for Hungry Jack's.
I think they use vegetable salt. So if you're a vegetarian out here, jump on Hungry Jack's chips. I don't know. Yeah, anyways. Tiffany is correct.
Oh, so
only
you
Tiffany.
make homemade chips?
I do like, you also have to make it. If I'm eating chips, I want the convenience of crispy.
So none of the above.
Yeah.
The homemade one is good.
I see spicy at Parramatta. Oh yeah, this is good because many of us are near Parramatta. Prem, is this like a chip shop? Is this you're on mute at the moment, but would love to hear. Where is this?
Not really. They're a momos shop, and they have a bit of mix. Have you had any Maggi noodles? Yeah, they sell them there. So Maggi noodles, chips, a lot of Indian flavored ice creams.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. I might check it out. I live near Parramatta. Many of our attendees here would live near Parramatta or are familiar with Parramatta. Okay. Thank you for sharing, everyone. Is KFC the winner? I don't. Okay, that's all right. Sometimes the public isn't correct, and that's okay. Let's get stuck into it. I don't know. I didn't mean to be so misdemeaning when we had that question. I was like, I won't attack people because of their opinion. But here we are. I have strong opinions on this. Well, let's get into the mentee journey. So we showed this last week when we're talking about the journey that you as a participant in the Pathway to Employment program will take, because we want to be really clear. We don't want to be asking you to do something that's unclear, or we don't want a lack of clarity. So that's why we have these journeys here, and we want to elaborate in terms of volunteering. So we mentioned last week, you're in the engage phase. So we're preparing to be a mentee, talking about the journey, self-awareness. Like I said last week, you want to be thinking about what are your goals as a mentee. What do you want to get out of this program? And so that we really focused on the mentee side. But as well as part of this is understanding the importance of volunteering and why this will help you, so that we can move into the plan phase of not just meeting your mentor, but meeting your community partner that you could volunteer with. Because, and I'm just trying to work backwards from here. So with the emerge phase, we want you to undertake a volunteering experience around 8 hours or more, and that's over this 10 weeks. So we know 10 weeks is a long time, and we know it's a big commitment. It might cross over your semester or cross exam periods and assessment periods. So we want to provide a space for you to work with your mentor in that 10 weeks and do your volunteering within that 10 weeks. And you'll see that the different volunteering experiences, some of them are quite strict in terms of that there are specific events that you can attend at certain times. And some of them are project-based, so you can undertake in between classes or in your evenings or something like that. So there's multiple ways to volunteer in this emerge phase. So we're working backwards. Today we're going to start planning, as well as like understanding what it means to volunteer and why we're asking you to do this, why we actually think it's important, not just for the community partners, but for you as well as a participant in this program. To cover the complete and sustain, as part of the completion, you will receive a bit of a participation certificate. By completing the volunteering experience and the mentoring, you'll get a certificate of recognition for participating in the Pathway to Employment program. And you'll be part of a cohort of almost 150 students who participated in this program over the past year. And you'll have a wealth of volunteering and mentoring experience. You can continue mentoring and volunteering once that's done. We want to leave that up to you, depending on your stage of life and where you're at. So that's the journey. That's what we're asking you to commit to, and that's what the flow will look like. Bit of a check-in. So like I said, I've sent in an email since last week. Could you react? Do I even know how to react properly? If you react with a thumbs up if you have explored the platform or you've checked out the email, or the laughing emoji if you have not. No judgment here. Amazing. Great to see. A few yeses. Awesome. So good. I think, yeah, the people who have checked it out, also the people who made it here today, which is great. So let's talk a little bit. I'll just quickly run you through what it looks like. So if you haven't had a chance to see this yet, so you would have been invited to the Flinders, I still don't really know how to say it, Flinders community, the Australian native plant Flinders. This is what your community looks like. So you can see just a little bit about the program. There are some discussion questions. So if you have any questions that could be answered either by the community team or by your peers, you can check them here, because people will see your answers or be able to see your questions and reply to that here. So this is a bit of a community page for you to interact with each other as well. This is where the mentoring content sits. So if you go into the weekly mentoring content, you can see all the tasks. You might click see all. You can actually view the whole program. You can actually view every week of content. You could open it up in advance if you like. Basically, we want you to work with your mentor first to set up goals for you personally, and then and then work through the content that's appropriate for you. Most of them will be relevant to anyone, no matter where they're at in terms of career or planning. Often we found that the mentors would use this to start each conversation because they're great kind of conversation starters, a great way to get your mentors to reflect on their experience, because our mentors are highly experienced and have been working for a few years. But these questions really drag out what's helped them, or what wisdom can they pass on to you, and tips and advice that they've felt in their career journey. So this is what your mentors will be able to work with you on. So that's what it looks like for the mentoring. So hopefully you've either had a chance to look at that, or you can have a look at that this afternoon. Now, so that's one stream. So we're doing a mentor welcome workshop tomorrow, and you'll be matched with a mentor either this week or next week to start looking through that content. They'll be checking in with you. You'll write some goals together, and that's how that'll go. So you'll be able to meet for about 10 weeks, ideally every week, but if you can only do every fortnight or on and off, that's okay too. And you want to make your way through that content. But parallel to that, we're going to be doing some volunteering. So the Pathway to Employment program was designed in a way that you as a university student can learn in terms of experience from a mentor, so they can speak into your scenario, no matter what degree you're in. We want someone to be able to speak into your career choice, your career path, and that kind of thing. But we want the mentor to be able to help you make decisions or help provide you with a framework to make those decisions and get ready for the workforce in terms of what values you have, what resilience or skills can you build for the workforce. So you'll be building that with your mentor, and they can provide advice really on whatever you're looking for. Resume building, getting ready for interviews. You might not know how to sell yourself in an interview. You might be able to ask them what they've done to prepare for interviews or that kind of thing. So that's the mentoring side. On the volunteering side, we actually want you to gain some experience in these kinds of workplaces. We know a lot of our university students, me included, while I was at university, I was just working a retail job. But that actually didn't give me any experience that I was looking for in the workplace. So many people look up internships, whether that's paid or unpaid, to get that experience, or you might be looking at grad programs. What we're hoping to do with volunteering is give you a chance to build those soft skills that you need for a workplace, because I've learned lots of things in my time at Cotton On, but collaboration or project management or how to work under a manager was not one of them. It's a very different workplace, right? We actually think that by volunteering in this way, in this skilled way, or by joining a team and helping them run an event, you're actually learning skills that will help you in the workplace. So we think that you'll get a lot out of it, as well as creating social impact. So you'll hear from these organizations in a moment about the amazing stuff they're doing in the community. And you'll be able to know how you can make an impact in the community, how you can help that. And it's a great way to build your resume and show that you go above and beyond, that you can commit to these kind of tasks, that you have a tenacity to do things that's outside of your normal scope. It looks great on a resume. If you look at Seek, the job board, they have some great research out there on terms of what volunteering does to build up your resume, and has some great tips about what people are looking for in your resume. So if you go to, I think specifically the Seek Volunteer has some great tips on how to build your resume and work your volunteering experience into that. But that's what to expect from volunteering. You'll be able to hear now about what the organizations are doing. We basically want you in groups of 2 or 3 to together go into this organization to work with our representatives, to either be working in the community with people, or with events, or that kind of community engagement, or to help them in a skill sense. So particularly for you who are studying remotely, or who aren't able to make it into Parramatta, we have some remote volunteering opportunities where you can work on a project, whether that's doing some research or putting together a survey or something like that. You actually have the chance to volunteer remotely as well and help them do what they do. So those are the types of volunteering. We want to give you the ability to choose what kind of volunteering you would like. And that's what we're going to try to do today. Now, that's enough of me talking. I would love to introduce, again, I've used not-for-profits, but it's really community partners. And maybe I've seen Chris Anthony here from Teachers on Wheels. Chris, do you want to kick us off by sharing about what Teachers on Wheels do, and how our students can help by volunteering? I might even stop sharing my screen so we can all see.
Can I share a screen?
Yeah, you sure can.
Okay, can you see the screen? Yeah?
Yep, looks great.
Yeah, so so Teachers on Wheels, right? We just changed the name to Pathly, but nothing else has changed, only the name, because we want to the delivery that what we are planning to do has changed. No, Pathly, we have a mandate to prepare young people for the future of work. You know, to find decent workplace for young people. That's our mandate. And we are partnered with small businesses. One of them is Skilojo, and Skilojo is contributing 10% of their profit to the charity as well. That's why we are engaging with small businesses who can help our charity, that we can start our programs. So the problem we have found is 98% of the job applicants today are weeded out of the system because of ATS. And a lot of recent graduates will know that it's going to be very difficult for you to find jobs with the software that's in place in most companies. Hence, we are trying to tackle these problems of the cumbersome talent sourcing systems, the high volume of reject rate that the applicants are facing, and also the mental stress the job applicants are facing because of applying for hundreds and thousands of jobs, not getting any response. Right? So we help job seekers to find the right job, the right time, fast. So how we do is we have developed a web app. Once you drop in your resume, it'll score and scan and score the match rate for you. And based on the highest match rate, you can tweak your resume to improve this from 58 to whatever. We recommend 80%. Once it's 80%, then you apply for the job and you have a better chance of applying. Rather than applying for hundreds of jobs, you apply for 10 jobs and be successful 60% of the time. Okay, so that's the whole thing that this Skilojo is doing. And so we want to be providing cost-effective solutions for companies, small business, from Skilojo point of view. So the target group is the job seekers. So we are targeting a lot of young people, particularly in the technology sector, and also recent graduates who can use a platform for free, tweak the resumes and write the resumes using artificial intelligence, and reduce the stress in finding the jobs. Okay, so the second target is the small to medium businesses, where we can get some work experience for our young people as well. Okay, so these are the benefits. Easy to use, hiring, inexpensive, hiring made easy, and time saving. It's based on data analytics and artificial intelligence. So my contact number is here, and the website information is here. And the CEO of Pathly, which was Teachers on Wheels earlier on. I'm helping other small businesses to come on board so that we can impart those work experience and training and facility for the job seekers and young people. Thank you. Any questions I can take, or we can do that after?
Yeah, we can take some questions now. If anyone has a question about Pathly or what volunteering would look like. Any questions for Chris and Pathly? Excellent, no worries. Thanks so much for sharing, Chris. Like I said, the goal of this session later will be to jump into breakout rooms and talk more specifically about how you can volunteer and get started with them. But thank you so much for sharing. Sue, would you like to go next for CCA? Oh, you're just on mute at the moment.
Sorry. So I haven't prepared anything specific like Pathly, but we're a disability service, and we do a lot of support for people living with complex disabilities in their homes. But we're just launching a social enterprise called Printable, which is to take a group of people with very significant disabilities, teach them about dye sublimation, which is printing onto different surfaces like mugs and things, and them setting up their own micro-employment. So I guess what we're looking for is people who would like to learn a little bit about understand more about people living with disabilities. And the wonderful contributions they make to our community, and to also be able to work with people on their designs of things that they're going to print, and most importantly, have fun with them, and build up a little bit of a sense of what it's like to have something that you can sell on in the generic community. So yeah, so it's an exciting journey. We will launch probably mid-November. We've got all the equipment, which we're just setting up at the moment. Got a group of 10 to 15 people who are our launch group, and we're ready to go.
Thanks so much for sharing, Sue. So yeah, if you're in design or anything like that, and I don't know if you might have had a side hustle or printing t-shirts,
little online business,
an
making
Etsy store.
art, yeah.
So if that interests, yep.
And also working with people with complex disabilities. If some of you are doing things like social work, speech, or any of those allied health, we would be providing a very good pathway in terms of getting things on your resume that look really promising.
Amazing, Sue. And from my understanding as well, so maybe if someone's like, I really love to work with people with disabilities, and that's something I'm quite interested in, but they're not so sure about the business side of it, is it possible? I know you also provide just chances to attend social events or with a carer, so you wouldn't be a primary carer, but you would be able to support people with disability in social events. Is that an option as well?
For instance, we might go on a picnic and they will have their carers who know them and understand them, but we might say, well, let's try playing our simulated wheelchair basketball or something like that, and would you like to sort of help us set up the court, or be the person behind that person, or help us set up a barbecue. So it can be a lot about communication and having fun.
Amazing. Thanks so much for sharing, Sue. And just so, yeah, particularly for our social enterprise and not-for-profits who are presenting, I think we've got about 10 of the students here, and then there's 5 or 6 more who will just be watching the recording. So they'll be listening in to understand what each of you are about. And if they don't get matched with you today, they can have the chance to get in touch with you later this week. Thanks so much for sharing, Sue. Julie, I can see you joined us. How are you going, Julie?
I'm well, thank you. How are you going?
Good, thank you. Do you want to tell us a bit about Michael Hughes Foundation and then what volunteering might look like with you guys?
Yeah, so like Sue, I'm not prepared with the presentation either. But I did just want to share with you all about the Michael Hughes Foundation. So we are a local Parramatta-based charity social enterprise, and we specifically focus on the issue of sudden cardiac arrest in the community. So it is a significant health issue all across Australia and also around the world. And our mission is about turning bystanders into first responders in all medical events. One of the challenging things in the community is that people don't understand what cardiac arrest is, and they believe it's a heart attack. So a cardiac arrest is when someone collapses, becomes unconscious and stops breathing. And regardless of what has caused or has led to that cardiac arrest, the critical actions by the community is they need to recognise it, they need to call 000, and they also need to start CPR and use and access a defibrillator if one is available to try and restart the person's heart. It is a really significant issue in Australia. As I said, about 30,000 cardiac arrests happen around Australia each year outside of the hospital, and of that number, less than 9% will survive. And a lot of that is to do with time factors and encouraging more of the community to be able to do something before emergency services arrive. Obviously, throughout COVID, it's been a bigger issue to deal with, and being able to get that support to the community when medical events occur. And we've been in operation for 7 years. We have a lived experience of cardiac arrest. The namesake of the organisation is for my husband, Michael, who passed away in 2013 from cardiac arrest, and he was only 38 years of age. But, you know, today we do represent many families and individuals who've experienced cardiac arrest. And as part of our organisation, we have paramedics. Our chairman, Kevin, is the Inspector of Ambulance in Northmead. He will go to about 50 cardiac arrests a month, and there is a lot of stories and a lot of experience of cardiac arrest, both from, unfortunately, people who have passed away, but also first responders and also, you know, lucky survivors who've experienced that. So we do a lot of community engagement work across Parramatta, Western Sydney, and also across New South Wales. And one of the significant pieces of work we're doing is at Melrose Park. So Pace Developments are building a very big residential development. Over the next sort of 5 to 10 years, there will be approximately 5,000 units within the precinct of Melrose Park and up to 20,000 residents. We're working with Pace and the developers to create a heart-safe community. And we're at the stage of actually doing a lot of community engagement with the owners and residents on site. And we're starting with some barbecues and events in October, November. The population of Melrose Park is high population of Korean and Chinese background. And we're working with Brooks Communication for the community engagement piece. And we would love some volunteers for those events that are coming up, but also we would love a chance to be able to educate you in cardiac arrest and the issue that we're dealing with as a bit of an educational piece, and getting your help for some of the activities that are coming up for those barbecues and community engagements for, I think it's across October and November.
Thanks so much for sharing, Julie. So it's an awesome organization, and by volunteering with them, there's some great community outreach that you can be doing and participating in. So particularly for those located in Parramatta, there's a couple of events over the weekends that would be great. So if you're interested in that, maybe in the breakout rooms, you can figure out what those dates are and if you're available, and those are the kind of things you want to lock in today or this week. Thanks so much for sharing, Julie. Catherine, would you like to go next?
Sure, I can do that. Hi everyone, my name's Catherine. I'm from a small community organisation called Dundas Area Neighbourhood Centre, and we're based in a community centre in Tilapia, which is just the other side of Parramatta if you're not sure of the area. We actually look after 6 areas surrounding that. So it's Tilapia, Dundas Valley, Rydalmere, Ermington, and part of Melrose Park. And we are funded to do early intervention programs. So it's about providing activities and programs for vulnerable families in our area. Currently, we're running, we have a free lunch on Fridays for our community. We have a community partner brings in lunches. We also provide emergency food hampers. We work with Oz Harvest and First Bite to try and get fresh fruit and veggies out to the community. We're running a school holiday program starting tomorrow. We work with youth. We've got a nutrition program starting soon, a women's program starting, and a men's program starting this year. We're a very small organisation. We only open 3 days a week, and we're only 1.6 full-time equivalent. So we try to do a lot with our little bit of staffing. Hence, where volunteers are really important to us. And I have got a particular project I'd love to work some volunteers to work on, which is around engaging with the community to find out what else we can do, like what's going to entice our community to come back to the neighbourhood centre, because we're finding that post-COVID there's still a little bit of people have been used to being indoors, so it's about trying to re-engage and get them back. So we basically want to do like a community survey, but we want to do it where we're actually talking to people, not just getting them to tick a box or fill a form online. So what we'd like our volunteers to do is go visit each of those areas for a couple of hours and talk to people at the local shops and you know, gather that information, not only what the community needs, but what they can offer, like coming from a strengths-based perspective, like what are the strengths in our community that we don't know about that people might be willing to share or yeah, share with us. So that's a bit about us.
Amazing. Thanks so much, Catherine. Yeah, so Dundas Area Neighbourhood Council, they provide a lot of support for the community. So by volunteering with them, you can get to know the community and get to I think we talked about this on before with Catherine about it would be great for people just to be in a local shopping center or just be able to reach out to the community and kind of ask what do they want, because that's so important. I think we talked about it a little bit last week in terms of even with volunteering, we might have ideas of how we think we should be supporting people or what we think people need. We actually need to work with the community that understands what they're feeling and how they need to be supported. And so it's a really important way that we can volunteer with DANC.
And I think it's really good, you know, for students getting a chance to interact with people or really build your conversation skills. We also have quite a large multicultural population, so you know, really help you with communication. Am I selling it well?
Excellent. If you speak any other languages as well, you might be a real benefit to that program as well, because that's often a barrier for these programs. People are not comfortable with English, aren't comfortable to ask or learn more about these programs, or don't trust someone who they might not have met before and can't communicate well with. So if you have other language skills, you might be a real asset to that group. Thanks so much for sharing, Catherine. Prem, would you like to go next?
Yep. I'm Prem Thurman from Natural Pana. We sell disposable plates made from palm leaf. We are a social enterprise, looking after the environment, trying to reduce the amount of plastic which is ending up in the oceans. The palm leaf plates are made from fallen palm leaves, so the raw material itself is renewed. And one of the good things about our plates is it's biodegradable and compostable. You can directly throw them in the green bin. So what we are looking for is for someone to do a bit of research into the carbon emissions and give us a comparison between how much carbon emissions it's a plastic plate, emitting from the time it's produced all the way to disposal, and compare it with our plates. We already have some research on that, but it's not based for Australia, so we'd love someone to do that for us.
Thanks so much, Prem. So yeah, I mentioned before the word, the term not-for-profit is quite specific in terms of, particularly in Australia, there's quite strict regulations around whether you can be called a not-for-profit or have DGR status and receive funding and donations. So that's quite a specific term. So particularly at the moment, I've been using terms like community organizations to include places like social enterprises. So Prem's organization is a social enterprise. So it's actually made to address a specific cause, and it involves things like selling products and so these plates. So actually it's supposed to be able to be self-funded. So hopefully won't rely on grants or necessarily public funding for it to survive. So it's a really interesting space that is really taking off for the past few years. Community itself is a social enterprise. So it's a type of business model that means you can actually try to fund yourself and funds these programs yourself. So Prem also works with employing people overseas and giving equal wages and fair wages to people. So it's one of those things where you have the freedom to really create a business model that is can fund itself, but also is ethical and can tackle things like climate action. So if you're really interested in climate action or biodegradable options and removing plastic, then that's a great way to volunteer for an organization like this. And you can see between our organizations, there's lots of different ways to volunteer. That's what we really wanted to demonstrate by having each of these organizations kind of put forward what they're doing. There's ways to volunteer in person with the community, with individuals, to volunteer in the back ends and do the research and drive these organizations as well. Prem, did you want to add anything before we move on?
Oh.
Awesome. I think that's everyone. I'm just trying to look around, make sure no one's kind of missed out. So those are our organizations. We also have Parramatta Mission. So the representative Chow couldn't make it today. Another thing is that not-for-profits often only have quite small staff teams, so they didn't have anyone who works on a Tuesday afternoon who could attend this session. So it's a reality of our not-for-profit sector. They're often quite under-resourced or working with small teams trying to do really big things, right? So I think that's really relevant to what we're doing. So the opportunity for Parramatta Mission, so they do a lot of great work in the Parramatta community with homeless or those at risk of homelessness, for those who are experiencing domestic violence and those who need help in the community. So Parramatta Mission specifically for this program, you could join, it's called Meals Plus. So you would do a little bit of training to understand what they do in this program, but really it's quite flexible because they have lots of shifts throughout the week. You could pick up a 2-hour shift each week to serve breakfast or lunch or create some food hampers in the afternoon. So it's quite flexible, but you would be able to actually serve food to, like I said, those who are either homeless or at risk of homelessness or those experiencing domestic violence. So it's a great way to support the community. Particularly, it's one of those services that was really affected by COVID, but was even more important during COVID. Like a lot of these things were exacerbated during COVID. So they're starting to bounce back, and you can volunteer and hand out these meals as part of their Meals Plus program. So unfortunately today you won't be able to jump in a breakout room with Chow, but I'll sit in that breakout room for a little bit so that we can sort out some potential times for that training session, and you can actually say, that's the one I want to volunteer in if you're interested in Parramatta Mission. Okay, how cool to hear about each of those organizations. Maybe can we just give a little clap to each of our not-for-profit reps. So amazing to hear your stories and how you've become involved with these organizations and what you're doing in the community. So thank you very much for that. Let me just quickly, so we're about to jump into breakout rooms. I want you to have a think about which organizations you would like to volunteer with. We're going to be in groups of 2 or maximum 3. So it's not like a group project where you want to be with your buddy. And I don't think many of you would know each other or be too familiar with each other, but we want to bring together people who are interested in the same thing and provide a little bit of a support. So if you're going somewhere in person, at least you're going with someone, or if you're doing a project, at least you can divvy up the workload between the two of you. So the goal is for groups of 2 or maximum 3. And I'll just run through. So we'll go into our breakout rooms and try to actually sort out those groups and how you're going to volunteer. So when we go off, we actually won't bring you all together to do a big wrap up. We'll actually let you, if you figure it out early, you can sort it out and come and chat to us, and then you can just leave so you can have a little bit more of your afternoon free. So let me just clarify what the goal for these breakout rooms are. And if you're watching this on the recording, you won't be jumping into a breakout room. We'll be connecting you via email, obviously. Pal, we will have some time for questions in a moment. So just leave your hand up so I don't forget, or pop it in the chat. So we'll be sending you off into breakout rooms, and you can actually choose. So you could actually jump into a breakout room, have a quick chat, and then jump into another. So have a couple in mind that you're interested in, particularly obviously if you're able to volunteer in Parramatta. It would be great if you went to one of the not-for-profits based that is offering in-person volunteering, because if everyone chooses remote volunteering, then we won't have enough, because some people have to volunteer remotely because they're not based in Parramatta. You'll be able to chat with the organisation. We're using Michael Hughes here as an example. So the goal would be, if you're interested in jumping into these events in Melrose Park and doing some community engagement, you could jump into Julie's breakout room, the Michael Hughes Foundation breakout room, and have a chat with Julie about what are these dates, what's involved, am I available? And once you're interested, we want you to actually lock those dates in and put them in your calendar, that kind of thing. We'll actually send you a link. So we want you to join the community on the platform. So this is how we do our recording and reporting. So this is what we'll be feeding back to Western Sydney University as well, just to clarify that you have jumped in and actually done this. So you'll be joining the community, and you can see community events outreach. So you'll get a link to that, and we'll just ask you to join this opportunity. So that will mean you're connected on the platform, and we can actually export that data. And once you've clicked on that, it'll give you a little discussion tab. So you'll actually be able to type some notes in there. The only thing we want you to do before you leave, this is kind of like not homework, I don't know. So your tasks to complete is to type in this chat what you're going to do. So actually let us know what you've agreed, these agreed actions are. So actually type out the events are on, I don't know, the 16th of October and the 22nd of October. I don't actually know the dates, but you would type in the discussion. These are the events we're going to attend, both of them, or I'm going to attend one and the other person can attend the other. And we're going to do some training the week before on the 10th of October. So that kind of level of detail, just so one, we know what's going on and we can be aware of what you're doing and reach out at the right time to support you. And also so that you know what you're in for and what you're talking about. So hopefully that'll guide the conversation. We will just be opening the breakout room. There's no structure, there's no timers in terms of make sure you've asked this many questions by this time. We'll just be letting you chat to the not-for-profit representatives and figuring out the answer to that question. What will I do next? So that's the main goal for today. If there's 5 of you in a breakout room, obviously not all of you will be able to volunteer for that opportunity. So you might be able to work it out, and some people will be able to go to a different one, or we might have to do kind of first in, best dressed. So whoever's in there first and was keen can join that one, because it'll be a hard limit of 3. Particularly today, I'm aware that with just 10 of us, there might be some not-for-profits with empty rooms at different times, so you can jump through, and we'll just kind of pass on their information to those who couldn't make it today.